Hello everyone. Today I'm talking with Jonathan Levi, who is in Israel right now as we speak.
Yes, sir.
So, the reason I'm talking with Jonathan is because he is a six-figure instructor on Udemy. He's done a lot of interesting things, but today we're just focusing on the Udemy course and what he's done to be successful. I asked students some questions. I got a lot of questions they would like answered, so we're gonna try to fly through these really quick, Jonathan, and get to as much of them as we can. Okay?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So people want to know first off, when you're a six-figure teacher now, but when did you start teaching? About what year?
I launched my course. So I teach a course on memory. So
Yes.
if I give you hyper-specific information,
Yes.
don't hold it against me. I
Okay.
launched my course on December 26th, 2013.
All right. That's very specific. So that's
Yeah.
less than 2 years ago, right?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. And so that's when you launched your course. Were you teaching before then, or have you just been teaching for the past year and a half, 2 years?
So I'd only taken my first online course in about September, October of 2013. Besides, in university watching the lectures that I missed from actual courses, but no, I was not involved in teaching. I was not involved in online learning at all
So,
before that.
so what prompted you, motivated you? How did you start doing this and teaching on Udemy?
So interesting story. I took Matan Griffel's 1 month Rails.
Oh
He
yeah.
now owns a company called 1 month, but at the time it was 1 month Rails, and that's all he had. And I was just learning to code in my spare time, and I thought, what a cool format. This guy built this 1 month online course that was interactive, had a lot of exercises, had a lot of games. In the background during my MBA, I had a lot of interest from my peers over this super learning skill that I'd been coached in. And so I was working on a startup. It didn't work out. I packed up, came to Israel, which is kind of my home and my happy place now.
All right.
And I said, well, what am I going to do? So I'll do this little side gig. I have a lot of small side gigs that each earn, $1,000 a month or something like that. And I said, I'll do another one. And between them, I can live here comfortably till I figure out my next big startup.
Hmm.
And it was pretty clear within 4 or 5 days. You know, it, it took me 20 years to be an overnight success, as they say. But
Okay.
within 4 or 5 days, it was pretty clear that this side project was going to do really well. And within a few months, it was very clear that this was my new full-time gig.
So it was instant success after about 20 years, right? Like that's
Yeah, I failed at more startups than most people will try in their life.
so you're doing really well with your Superlearner course. How many courses are you selling overall now on Udemy?
I have become a super learner, which is in English, German, Japanese, and soon to be Spanish.
Hmm.
Then I have Speed Demon. Then I have Travel Wizard, which is essentially I did a buddy a favor and put his material into a Udemy course. Then we're currently working on Branding You, which is a course on how to build a multimedia internet empire. I think that's it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
All right. And so for right now, would you say uh, your first course is the one that's doing the best for you overall,
Oh
or is
yeah.
it
Yeah,
okay?
far and away.
I see.
Far and away.
And what niche or category do you consider yourself a part of with the courses you're teaching?
I try to shy away from self-help as a term, so
Uh-huh.
I call it personal growth, which I like that Udemy also calls it personal growth,
Right.
because I think those are two very distinct. Self-help is I need help, and personal growth is I'm ready to grow. So I try to go more to the latter.
As someone who runs a personal development website, I do like your spin. I'm going to have to remember that. Okay.
It's all about spin.
So a lot of people are impressed that you make six figures a year on Udemy. They would like to know, one wise guy wants to know if this is six figures per month or per year.
Oh man, I wish it were 6 figures. No, it's 5 figures a month. Five
Five fig-
figures a month.
5 figures a month, 6 figures a year.
Yeah, I think that's how the math works, right?
Right. And other people, they want to know, is this six figures, is this profit or after advertising costs, promotional costs? Like what is the
That's
net?
net in my pocket after Udemy, after affiliates, and after I actually so my course that I'm always posting in Udemy Studio, people see these amazing numbers, right, in
Right.
the hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's after I actually pay Dr. Lev and Professor Anna their cut.
Ah,
That's net to me, and I take home I've done the MBA thing since I spent all this money on an MBA. I should use it. And I have this big spreadsheet that calculates which each party takes. And at the end of the day, I take home about 33% of revenues after Udemy and affiliates and all that stuff, advertising. And so I take home about 33%.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great.
So the six figures is 33%.
Perfect. All right. So a lot of people, they want to know in a nutshell, like the secret to your success. Let's phrase it this way. What's the one change that has made the biggest, most marked difference for you in being successful?
Can I rephrase it as not a change?
Yes.
Because there is one secret and one secret only to. I'm going to go big. I'm going to go wide with this one.
Okay.
There's one secret in the world to succeeding in any business, no matter what business you're in. Provide value. Simplest thing in the world. Money is a representation. It's a manifestation of value. Anytime someone gives you their money, I'm sorry, they are exchanging value for what they expect to be value. That applies whether you're a heart surgeon or a masseuse or you're manufacturing iPhones. It's all about value. And I think too many people think about the value in terms of themselves and not in terms of what is the student going to get. You're asking someone to part with their hard-earned money. You need to give them that much value? No, you need to give them more value. They need to feel like they're getting more than their dollar's worth.
So you would say that the secret to your success, if people want to know, is that you're providing a lot of value to students. And as someone who I checked out your course and your reviews, like the reviews are overwhelmingly glowing, positive. So people do feel like they are getting tons of value, you know. So that is.
I certainly hope so, yeah.
That is the secret to your success, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm also very fortunate. I do want to say I'm very fortunate that I teach something that many millions, if not billions of people want to know. Everybody wants to know how to learn more effectively. Everybody wants to know how to remember things more. These are like basic desires, as far as I'm concerned, in the information economy. So that helps.
Well, I'm going to jump ahead to a question just because it's relevant to people. Then, like you're saying that people want this, and obviously that does help. So how did you pick teaching this class? Because you could have probably taught a lot of different classes. Was there a certain amount of savvy in saying, "Hey, I'm going to pick this class because people want to know it, and
Absolutely.
I think people will pay money for it. It's highly desirable."
Absolutely. So I'm a big believer, only because I failed in so many businesses, Dave, that I'm a big believer in lean and customer development. And if anyone out there thinks they want to get into this entrepreneurship game, first and foremost, know that building Udemy courses is entrepreneurship, right? Anytime you're creating products on your own, you're generating new solutions, you're being innovative, you're an entrepreneur. I don't care how you cut it, okay? And if you want to be in this entrepreneurship game, you have to know that the laws and rules have changed a lot in the last decade. And what that means is you don't go out there and build a product based on some vague market research. Build it till it's ready and launch it, right? You iterate, you talk to your customers. Communication is free these days. You can reach people all over the world and talk to them, right? And you see me doing that in Udemy Studio all the time. Hey, are you guys interested in learning how to connect podcasting to your Udemy courses? And you get feedback. And so I did that during my MBA. You know, people were pulling me aside and saying, hey, you know, I noticed you finished the exam before anyone else. It's not that you write faster, and I certainly, you know, didn't know the material at all before I went. I was just reading 3 times faster than everyone else. And so I had interest validated in these concepts. And then I went even further and I said, you know, what format would you guys like this in? I could write a book about it. I could make courses. And I talked with people. I talked with probably 100 people in my network and asked them, what's this worth to you? What are the sticking points? Well, I want a money back guarantee. Okay. That's how I ended up finding Udemy.
So you straight up, like, to give people actionable advice, you straight up found people that you thought might be interested. You asked them, would you be interested? You asked them what would be the problems for them.
It's a bit more complicated than that, because if you ask someone, hey, I have this idea, are you interested? Yeah. We're all trained to say, yeah, that's a great idea, Dave. So instead I asked, like, what are your pain points? You know, are you having difficulty learning things? What's the biggest frustration when it comes to reading and learning for you? oh, well, it takes me so long. You phrase these questions, and there's a ton of literature out there. I recommend people read anything by Ash Moria, anything by Eric Ries, anything by
This is
Steve
all.
Blank.
This is all for everyone who's wondering. This is all part of the lean startup movement, right?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think the big question or big insight for people that they would like to know is at what point you're going out, you're talking to people. At what point did you understand or realize and say, hey, I've got something that people want and I know people will pay money for it? Like, how did.
You never know. You never know
Uh,
until they pay. See, this is the thing. This is the beauty and why like I've learned so many hard lessons in entrepreneurship
mhm.
because nothing is the equivalent of a credit card being handed to you. Nothing. Like, yeah, I will buy that. Here's my email. I promise. And none of that is worth anything. Anything. It's not worth anything until they give you their money. And I've realized there's disconnects at every single step. So what you do then by proxy is you build a product that's minimally viable. It's like the least amount of investment you can do. Don't go out and buy a fancy camera. Don't go out and buy a fancy microphone until you validated interest. And if you look at my best-selling course, out of all my courses, the video is crap, the audio is crap. I mean, today Udemy would not accept that course, I don't think.
But
And
this
so,
is still
I'm in the
making you tons
process
of money,
of
right?
more money than I think I probably deserve to make.
But
But
that does help people know. Like, I mean, even if the quality
it's
itself is
content.
not that
It's all
great, the
content.
value that they're deriving from it is really,
Exactly,
it
it's
will
content.
drive
And look,
sales.
I was naive about it. I recorded with this FaceTime camera on my, or sorry, the iSight camera on my MacBook, and the mic on my MacBook. I mean, it's lousy, lousy, lousy. Like, at least with that, I know you wanted to talk about equipment. Like, go out,
Mhm.
spend $60, buy an Audio Technica 2100, or buy this monstrosity. Uh,
Ah,
I'm not really happy with the Blue Yeti, to be honest with you. Do that. Use your iPhone, not your iSight camera. This thing has a great 1080p camera right on it, right?
mhm.
But don't do it the way I did it because now I'm gonna spend. Once you get to kind of the level of tens of thousands of students, there are expectations, and so
Yes.
I'm gonna spend a pretty serious chunk of change this year recording, getting my course professionally edited, getting all the audio mastered, and essentially redoing the whole course because I cut that corner.
And then, do you use other software like Camtasia? Like, is there any?
So I'm a diehard Mac guy. I
Yeah.
use iMovie for everything.
Hmm.
I know my colleague Anthony swears by ScreenFlow.
Uh-huh.
He loves it. But I know how to use iMovie, but in currently I have to give the caveat. Currently, I don't edit my own courses anymore,
Okay.
uh, which is a nice luxury to have.
I was going to go back to a question we asked before because I think it nicely ties in. It was an interesting answer that, like, even after asking the questions, you weren't for sure that you're gonna make money for it. You're not sure they're gonna
No,
hand
you're
over.
never sure. You're
Yeah.
never sure. So get out there in the market as soon as possible and put your product in front of people. Now, of course, you can't halfway complete your course. You can't sell you, but you know what I mean. Like, if you can create a minimally viable. So with the, I'll give a real life example. I think that's I've been given feedback recently that I need to give more real life examples. So with branding you, Anthony and I had ideas for 80 lectures.
Hmm.
We determined that 46 of those lectures are critical. They need to be in there. Over time, we will add lectures if the course is successful, if it pays itself off, which, knock on wood, it will. But over time, we'll add value. That does two things. One, we've minimized our upfront investment.
Hmm.
We've provided just the lean, mean, clean product that is going to get people purchasing it. And it's great. It's a great standalone product. We've not cut any corners. But we can always up the price later and add more value. And for those who already bought, if we come out and say, look, you guys bought it at 46, now there's 50 lectures. We've added a lecture just detailing audio quality on podcasting, or we've added a lecture just on how to pick the right editor for your book. And now I've over delivered value. And that's how you get evangelists, not just fans, but evangelists going out there and singing your praises. And I do this with Superlearner all the time. Like, if enough people ask me a question, I will re-record a lecture. And you'll even see in my course, like, there are 4 or 5 lectures that do not match the style. Like, they're recorded in a professional studio. And I flat out say, like, hey guys, sorry for the background change. Enough of you guys didn't understand this point that I'm redoing the lecture. And I mean, think about how you would feel as a student if you paid whatever dollar amount and this product is continuing to deliver to
Yes.
you, continuing to add value. It all comes back down to the value.
So to recap, for some people who might be listening to this, like a lot of people have heard the term minimum viable product, especially like in web
Yes.
development, where you push out the simplest thing possible. This idea
Yes.
is a minimum viable course, where you're pushing out the bare
Yeah.
minimum course information, then gathering information from your students and keep providing value, and as you put it,
Yeah, it's. I want to avoid saying bare minimum just in case people aren't familiar. It's minimum. They say minimum viable, but I say minimum valuable
that's a good one.
because
Yeah.
it needs to be valuable. But that extra 20-minute lecture going into that deep, deep, deep detail, you can add that later. I mean, not that it requires much more, but another great example is upload your course and everything without the professional editing, and if it starts making money, then invest in the $300 software to
Right.
get those nice fancy arrows.
Yes. One thing I think it'd be nice to touch on is that a lot of people here, you make six figures, they're interested in money, making money online, but how important do you think it is um, to focus on something that you're really genuinely interested in about? Because I
Oh,
know,
that's a great question.
you know what I'm saying? It's like you could be
That's
like,
such a great question.
yeah,
So here's I'm going to start with a quote, which is that entrepreneurship is spending a few years of your life like most people won't, so you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. It's a big thing, and there's a lot to unpack there. But for me, entrepreneurship is a choice. You're going to work harder, and you're going to have more stress. Period. I have no disrespect for anyone who's a salaried employee, gets a paycheck every month. I've personally never done it, but from what I understand, it's pretty nice to know that as long as you do what's exactly specified of you in your job description, you're going to get a paycheck every month. Like, that's stability, and that's nice. And if that's for you, that's great. Entrepreneurship is not like that. You deal with a lot of anxiety and uncertainty. There's a lot of social pressure. It's not the panacea, wonderful walk in the daisy park that TechCrunch would have you believe. Okay,
right.
and there isn't a single entrepreneur out there who's like, I never had a bad day in my life running my business. It doesn't happen. So my point is, if you're gonna work that much harder, you deserve to get a certain level of freedom or a certain level of income or something that everyone else is not getting for showing up to their day job. You quickly realize that the added income often is not, and when it is, like, big deal, right? For as hard as I work, I could go work at McKinsey and I'd make probably the same amount of money. So then what's the point? Why do it, right? And it's exactly what you said, Dave. I choose what I work on, when I work on it, and how much I work on it. And I only do things I'm passionate about. I don't like video editing. I don't do it. I don't like editing my podcast. I don't do it. I outsource it. And from what I'm told, if you're working in a corporate job and you say, I don't really want to do that part of my job, that doesn't fly so much. So the point is, if you're going to go down this route of entrepreneurship, let it be because you want to choose the things you work on. You want to choose where you invest your time and your passion. I won't teach things that I don't care passionately about. I mean, a lot of people really, really want us to adopt super learning methodology to programming. And programming courses are the only courses, without ego, right? The only courses that put me to shame on Udemy. I mean, these guys are making actual six-figure a month incomes,
Right.
not six-figure a year incomes.
Right.
But I won't do it because programming for me isn't fun. I don't enjoy it. It's just not how I'm wired up. I like visual and creative and soft skills, and for me, it's just frustrating. So I won't teach it. One, because I don't enjoy it, and two, because it's inauthentic for me to be evangelizing something that I'm not passionate about.
That's a great answer. And I think also a lot of people kind of they've asked the question, like, how do you get the motivation to do a course or to complete a course? You have to imagine that if you are genuinely personally invested in it and you're enjoying it, even if
Right.
even if it's a lot of work, it's fun. You know what I'm saying? And that makes it go by
Absolutely.
so much faster. Yeah.
Yeah, Tim Ferriss said something really cool on his podcast one day, which is like, I don't do anything that's not a hell yeah. I don't do the, yeah, okay, that sounds cool. I do hell yeah. Like, Anthony, do you want to build a course on teaching other Udemy instructors how to publish books and and all this stuff that's taken us 2 to 3 years to learn, each of us? Hell yeah. Do you want to teach a course on programming? Yeah, maybe, kind of, I guess. So that's my metric. If you need motivation to do it, be honest with yourself and be compassionate with yourself. Maybe this isn't the right topic, or maybe you're just not cut out to be an entrepreneur, and that's acceptable. There's really no shame in that.
One thing that's interesting about what you've talked about is you have made six figures, but you've also said you've worked really hard to do it, and you could make the amount of work that you're putting in, you can make this kind of money somewhere else. Something that a lot of people wanted to know, like they're asking how much time are you spending on your Udemy course each week? Days, hours?
Oh, Udemy course? Nothing.
Okay.
Maybe like an hour a week, maintaining, answering questions. It's the building, the empire building that takes a lot of work. Recording the podcasts is a good bit of work. Building out the website, writing content for my website is a lot of work. Recording new courses is a lot of work. Then again, I was probably unfair to McKinsey people. I think they work probably 60 plus hours, and I work 30 to 35 hours a week. So I was unfair. I'll take that back. But in terms of maintaining my actual courses, I work in spurts and I work in sprints. Udemy will tell me, hey, we're a little bit concerned about this piece of feedback that we got a few times. Maybe you should fix it. Okay, I'm going to go into the studio. I'm going to record 5 new lectures. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to redo all the syllabus and all the everything and clean everything up. And that's intensive work. And then it's set it and forget it for another 6 to 12 months.
That's good. So it sounds like you do put in a lot of work, but the work that you're putting in really is in creating the new content. As far as the old content goes, you're fine. Now,
creating new content and improving old content, replacing. I mean, that's the name of the game. Answering questions is not a lot of work, and what work it is, I'm fortunate that Lev answers most of the questions that students have.
Now, if you put these pieces together, you've made 6 figures, you've put in a lot of effort and a lot of work, you've asked questions to see if people might be interested. All of this obviously does contribute to your success. Someone asked a question I thought was interesting, is how much do you think of your success, when you consider everything, amounted to a good dose of good luck? How much do you think the luck factor plays in, right?
Oh, that's that's a really good question. That's a tough question. I don't so much believe in luck. I believe in karma. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but your karma is going to be really good if you're teaching people something of value and you're putting out good energies in the world. I realize that sounds a little wacky, but I believe it. And if you're helping people, you can get everything you want in the universe by helping other people get what they want. So if you consider that luck, I have really, really great luck. But I've also been unlucky enough times to justify that I'm not just a lucky guy. I've failed at 5, 6, 7, 8 companies.
And that leads to another question, because some people might say luck, but would you say there's something to the idea that, do you think your success came through trial and error? Is that a possible way? Okay.
That's without a doubt. So I'm fortunate to have a best-selling book on Amazon. That's my 3rd or 4th book that I've tried to write. And every time I failed because I've relied on co-authors who weren't around, or I tried to crowdfund a book, right? So doing the other way of validation without actually having the content out there. And that didn't work. So I'm all about the trial and error. I failed at 4 blogs. I failed in 3 tech startups, 4 software ventures. I am a habitual failure. And I'm super proud of it. I give a lecture to international delegations of entrepreneurs in Kenya, Korea, people like that, about fail harder, fail faster. I'm the biggest failure enthusiast,
So I'm gonna retitle this interview "The 6-Figure Failure." How's that?
I love that. That should be the title of my new blog. I love it.
So, it sounds like you did a lot of work, tried a lot of new things. Someone asked if you had a magic formula or something to begin with, this strategy. I know you talked about the lean startup approach, but would you say that there was some sort of a formula?
Okay, I'll give you a couple hard and fast tips that are Udemy specific, but realize a lot of what I'm building now. And by the way, 6 figures is a really broad term, from 100,000 to 999,000. I'm in the lower middle range of that spectrum, and that makes me a tiny guy. That
Okay.
makes me like a small fish because I'm just starting out, branching out, in the last 6 to 8 months. There are guys out there doing content, writing blogs, making millions,
Hmm.
millions and millions, not like 2 million, like many millions. So, the six-figure term, whatever. But for Udemy specific, and I think the reason people are intrigued is I'm making six figures just on Udemy,
Hmm.
which I consider myself very fortunate to be doing. But the trick for Udemy, to kind of let a little bit of the cat out of the bag and then try and get it back in,
Hmm.
is my stories. Okay, sorry, let me back up. Everything that you're going to teach and that I'm going to teach, for the most part, is available for free on the interwebs, right?
Hmm.
You can go on YouTube, you can find almost everything I teach. So why do people pay me? People pay me because I hold your hand. I curate the content extremely carefully and fastidiously. I'm there to answer your questions. And I've put in a ton of thought about what skill you need to learn when. So instead of watching a video about memory palaces and then watching a video about speed reading, and I'm structuring everything so it's a very carefully crafted story and path, right? And I take you from day one to infinity and beyond because I stick with you. I have students who far surpass me in my speed reading ability, and I'm still with them and I'm still helping them find resources to continue improving and maintaining their skills. So it, you have to think about what value you're going to provide over the bajillion free resources. Like Apple themselves offer iOS 8 and Swift programming guide. Like they want people to learn this language. Why does Rob Percival earn like $1 million a year teaching iOS and Swift? Because he makes it so easy and so comfortable and so pleasant to learn with him as part of a journey. That's
Okay.
it. I mean, that's the tip on Udemy. Like, if there were, if you subscribe to the Pareto principle that 20% yields 80%,
Hmm.
that's the success tip on Udemy. Craft a compelling story and a narrative that takes the learner from 0 to 100, and be with them every step of the way and nurture them and comfort them. Think about the most nurturing teacher that put their hand on your shoulder when you were crying over your times table and said, "It's okay. Next, what we're going to do is this. We're going to take a step back. We're going to work on, the smaller numbers, and then we'll come back to this and everything's going to be fine." I mean, if they're not paying for that, what are they paying for?
Well, that's a great point, and is actually a good lead into what some people want to know about creating the actual course. It sounds like you put in a lot of time and effort. Where you think the real value and money comes in that people pay for is taking them step by step on this journey.
Sure.
This is a question I'm really interested in you answering because your best-selling course is about learning. How do you, for your courses and lessons, how long are they? Have you decided, hey, this is how much of a chunk of
Yeah.
information I give at a time? Like, what do you do?
So they are as long as they need to be and no longer. Uh, I don't believe, although I will tell you, Udemy is placing emphasis on the flagship courses. They're looking at these 12, 13-hour courses that can replace college credits, and you can check out their press releases and all that stuff for that deal.
All right.
But my courses, I don't believe in doing these like 9-hour courses that you throw in 3 podcasts. I mean, there are instructors who will just throw in extra podcasts to make that number look longer. And you get to the end of the course, and it's like 6 bonus lectures that are each 1 hour, but it's
Uh-huh.
3 hours of content. So I don't believe in doing that because that ties very intimately into my strategy of creating an ecosystem. Uh, and I mean that's what we're covering in the course is like providing value on your own website, getting people in, and we teach you how to do that without ruffling feathers at Udemy. So my courses on average are 2 to 3 hours. The Branding U course should be about 4 hours. That's more than enough.
All right. Well,
It's more than enough.
that's great. And is there an average length of your videos? I know you say it's as long as it needs to be, but is there like a point where you
Oh no,
say,
that I'm extremely, extremely cautious about. 2 to 6 minutes, usually
ah,
3 to 6 minutes.
right.
I try never to go over 6 minutes. I can't say why, but just know that Udemy prefers that.
Okay, so you definitely aim for the 2 to 6 minute range. If it's below 2 minutes, does that suggest like not enough meat in this lesson to you? Is that Is that something or not?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
2 to 6 minutes. Again, I can't say why, but that's what you need to do. Just leave it at that. 2 to 6 minutes.
All right. Well, no, that's like clear, actionable advice I think that people will like. Um, Now, let's say you've gone ahead, you've created a course, you've done a lot of, you've provided value. People are actually paying for it. Um, what this leads into, how do you go about marketing and promoting your course, like in terms of pricing? Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on pricing, like how you price it and what sales prices works and things like that?
So assuming this is targeted at existing Udemy instructors,
Yes.
we all know that the pricing doesn't really matter. I hate to say that. I also know that Udemy is working on becoming less of a discount warehouse for courses.
Right.
So in the future, it will matter. But I price my courses high, and they sell for 90% off, 80% off all day long, every day, just like everybody else. So, I don't actually think the price matters that much. I think the higher, the better. Udemy caps it at $2.99 now. So. Uh, Maybe it helps the sales to see a larger discount number,
Hmm.
probably. But to be honest with you, if you're teaching a course on a hyper specific skill that's an hour long, like don't try and justify a 199 price. That's funny. But if you're teaching a skill like I will revolutionize the way that you learn for the rest of your life and it's a 2 hour course, that probably justifies 149 in theory, though nobody pays that.
Okay. Um, do you personally like you've said like your courses do like every Udemy instructor sell like for a big discount. Do you ever yourself personally create discounts and coupons for your course that you distribute and promote?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was doing six figures on Udemy before that because it it's really all about nailing the launch.
Hmm.
You have to nail the launch well so that their ranking algorithm picks you up, and then you have to get a lot of great feedback in the early days and blah 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 blah. We can go into that, but you can read on that. I mean that's out there. You need to get a lot of reviews. You need to get a lot of paying students up front. Get going, whatever. I actually don't. I didn't start marketing my own courses for a long time because I was just riding the Udemy promotion wave and the Udemy featuring wave, and I was on the front page for a long time. And it's like if you build a quality course and people are buying it and loving it, everything takes care of itself.
Hmm.
Now, to reach the upper, the multiples of the 5 figures a month, I'm doing promotions, but that again ties into this whole brand ecosystem strategy that we're building a course on, which is I've created a podcast where I talk about my course. I've created a mailing list. I give away free chapters of my book to get people involved, and then boom, I do the upsell. I have a really great racket where people buy my book and decide that they don't, they're reading a speed reading book and they're like, man, I read really slowly. Well, take the course, right? Spend an extra $15, take the course, and then come back and read the book at 800 words a minute. So that's a nice thing, and we teach how to do that. But it's mostly just to my audience. I'm not like going on coupon websites. I'm doing no AdWords. I'm doing no advertising, to be honest with you, besides in my own ecosystem, nurturing my audience, telling members of one course about another course. I mean, that made $6,000 this weekend, just migrating people from Superlearner to Speed Demon
Oh,
at a
wow.
discount. Yeah.
So you're not using Facebook ads, AdWords,
Yeah.
anything like that. Um,
Yeah. I don't do anything that I don't want to do, Dave. Like I don't enjoy writing ads and writing copy and measuring analytics, so I just don't. If
do,
someone out there wants to do my ads, I will pay you handsomely to do it. Um,
I know someone
but
that's going to watch this and take you up on that
fantastic.
offer. I have a
I'm
feeling.
looking I'm looking for a marketing manager. So
So yeah, that's out there now. Okay.
excellent. That is
Uh,
out there.
so someone else asked if you use free coupons to get people into your courses, like especially at the
Absolutely
beginning.
not.
No.
Absolutely not. I'm patently against it.
Okay.
I don't think it improves the rankings that much. I don't care what anyone says about social proof. I don't buy it. People who take courses for free, I've subscribed to 10, 15 free courses. I've never logged into them
Hmm.
because I have no skin in the game. And it's ingenuous to have this number of thousands of people taking your course who've, not even paid for it. I'm totally against it, completely against it.
Good. Uh,
Even, by the way, my own father paid for my course. actually.
You charge your own parents for your course.
Absolutely. And then
They
I took
gave
them
you
to lunch.
life when you
Everybody
charged
pays.
them money for the course.
Oh yeah, and then I took them to lunch for, 3 times the value of the course. But everybody pays for my course unless you're a mega celebrity who's giving me an endorsement. Nir Eyal didn't pay for my course. Diane Fu didn't pay for my course. Those guys are big names. So,
Just so you know, I paid for your course too.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Um, Someone else wants to know, you don't do AdWords, you don't do advertising. Do you pay any attention at all to keyword research or looking for organic traffic? Does that cross your mind at
Yeah,
all?
there is a reason that my course is titled the way that it is. Instead of memory techniques, it's memorization techniques. So I did some keyword research. Now I can't change it. I don't know if the keywords have changed, but that is what it is. The URL is, it doesn't say anything about accelerated learning because that's a term that we've popularized. It says speed reading and memorization. Really what we teach is accelerated learning, which happens to comprise speed reading, memorization techniques, advanced kind of learning methodologies. But we very deliberately, speed reading comes first. That's a huge term on Google. And then we've optimized obviously the description to fit that.
So I love that. I love that. Like, I mean, you're not looking really at the AdWords or advertising or whatever, but you're paying a lot of attention to what people are looking for on
Bingo.
Google, which is keyword
Bingo.
research. That's great.
Yeah, that's another one of those lectures we recorded in the branding courses. Like, even if you're not going to pay for ads, pay attention to the terms because there's speed reading with a space and speed reading without a space, and there are dramatically different search numbers for that.
All right. You've obviously done really, really well with the Udemy promotions, right? Like that they've picked you up, put you on the first page, run with you.
hmm
Do you like a lot of people? I found this interesting. A lot of people were like, "Oh, do you recommend Udemy discounts or not?" I think new Udemy teachers are
Yes.
like wary of them, but I just wanted you to
Yeah.
share your
So I
thoughts.
remember, I think I was like traveling at the point where I got the email and they're like, we want to sell your course for $15. This was after a week or so of it being out there. And I'm like, it's $149 course. But all right, let's do it. Let's get that social proof. I'm against giving away my hard work for free unless it's work that's designed to be given away for free. My podcasts, if anyone want to listen, they're absolutely free. There's like 30, 40 hours of great content. That's free. You can have that for free. Courses are paid. Anyway, so I went with it, and then eventually the email came back, $10. All right, I'll go with it. We deliberated over it, and we had to think. Contractually, I'm not allowed to sell my course below a certain amount, and $10 is below that amount, which is pretty funny. But, I got authorization from my co-authors, and we did it. And I mean, the vast majority of students pay between $10 and $20 for my course. I'm tacking on, if you want to do the math, I'm tacking on 2,000 to 3,000 students on a normal month.
Ah,
So do the math there.
okay.
It adds up. One day I really want to get to the point where people are paying $149 for my course. It may happen with Udemy maturing as a company. I don't know. I hope it does. But even if it doesn't, one day, I'll figure out a way to be getting $149 for my course. Because you look at these guys like John Lee Dumas making $3 million a year, selling $1,200 courses. I feel like $149 will swing.
So Udemy has obviously done pretty well promoting your courses. You've said that you've gone ahead and you create your own discount codes and share them with others, not through advertising. So how is it? What have you found to be the most effective way to promote your course and offer these discounts? Is it your blogs? Is it your podcast? What is your?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Dave, the honest answer is the most effective way to be successful is to be successful. And
Uh-huh.
once you have an audience of, I remember when I did the math, I wasn't going to build a second course because just from Superlearner, I was making a great living on the beach and hanging out and being lazy and, like, just essentially like not being greedy about it. And then I did the math. I was in Moscow talking to some people and I was like, yeah, I have 14,000 students at the time. Today it's 40,000. I have 14,000 students. On average, they've each paid $10 and $19. And this like Russian guy's like, so wait, if you come out with a new course and is $15 and less than 1% buy, you make $15,000. I'm like, yeah, I never thought of it that way because if I promote it, I get 97% of the revenue. So lo and behold, like 2 months later, I put out Speed Demon, ironically, made $14,000 exactly in the first weekend, which is really, really comical. Because it's a low number. If I, knock on wood, if I release a new course, which I'm planning to do, you're looking at significantly higher numbers because 40,000 people are going to get that email and click that link. So that is the number one, unfortunately, is build your audience and have it out there and engage them regularly with promotional and interesting content, educational content. The next thing is exactly the subject of our course, which is put out free educational, high quality content like a podcast, like a book, an ebook, and get people engaged and get people excited about your content, and then move them in an ascension model into your premium products.
So if you look at all these different methods of distribution and reaching your audience, would you say, though, it comes down to this: as you build your audience and you collect the email subscribers, that the actual emailing is the most effective way to go ahead and sell and promote your course once they trust you, obviously, and all that, is email?
Yeah, but that's putting the horse before the cart, because most of our audience today is going to be Udemy instructors, and they're very strictly prohibited from asking for emails.
No,
so there are a lot of...
I mean, like they go to your podcast and they're like, hey, I like this podcast. I want to hear more. I subscribe. I like this blog.
Yeah.
I subscribe.
Yeah, that's the most effective way.
Okay. So
without a doubt, yeah.
To get emails from others, yes.
There's like 6 steps to getting to that point, but yeah, eventually you want to get to the point where you have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people on your email list just waiting for you to release new products. And that's the name of the game. I mean, that's how these guys like Lewis Howes are making 10 million, 20 million a year.
How many subscribers did you have starting out, like when you launched your first course?
Same as everybody else, 0.
That's fantastic. See, everyone wants to know what's the best way to start marketing your course if you have no email list, right? So, like, would you have...
Start with friends and family.
Okay.
Friends and family. Like, if you can't find people in your social circle who are excited to buy your products and not a sympathy purchase, like an actual purchase, you better reconsider. Because either that means you don't know your target audience because no one in your friends is your target audience,
right.
Or even worse, there is no target audience. So when I released my course, I didn't know what I know now about Udemy and discounting. I give a $50 coupon, right? So 66% off. Mm-hmm. Actually, no, I launched it $129. So it was like 60% off, something like that, okay? I had 50 or 60 friends buy it in opening weekend for $50 each.
Yeah.
Okay, so that should tell you something. I only have like 1,000 friends on Facebook. That means that like 5% of my friends on Facebook in the opening weekend of my course bought it. And that's not because I'm like a nice, swell guy. It's because I knew what these people wanted and I delivered a course that they were excited about.
Yeah.
And I still, to this day, I went to a wedding last weekend in Milan. And one of my buddies came up and he's like, you know what? I'm still using your course. I'm still reviewing it. So start with friends and family. And if you get to the point where you're like, my friends and family don't want my course, ask yourself why.
Okay.
You know?
This is another interesting thing. You've got all these students, right? And they are leaving positive reviews, and you're gaining traction with them. Do you do anything for your current students that increases, like help use them to increase word of mouth about your course? Is there anything you do to do that, to light a fire under them?
Not particularly. It happens organically. Mm-hmm. I give in each one of my courses, I give it, maybe I should do that. I give a discount code to my other courses, but rarely ever to that course. But yeah, I assume it happens organically. It's actually a good development point.
Yeah, that would be an interesting test, just to be like, if you love this course, share this course with this coupon code.
With my coupon code, exactly.
Exactly, right. And then I like this one about reviews because it captures people's fear or horror when they're teaching and they get a bad review. How do
Yeah.
you how do you handle that? Like, what is your method of handling bad reviews? How does it affect you? Or
Well, I figured out if it's a real review or not, which means I just go really quickly into the back end and see if the student actually started the course.
uh-huh.
If it's not, I send an email to support, and if it is a real review, then I consider it. But there's nothing you can do about it, really. There are going to be people who dislike your course and dislike you, and that's something we call life.
Well, I
So
mean,
let me take one more, Dave, and probably I should get going at some point.
all right. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we wrap up there for like these kinds of questions that people
Sure.
have been asking. Um, I'm kind of interested. You've been talking throughout this interview about how you're teaching a course that teaches people how to integrate blogs, podcasts, different
Yep.
forms of
Yep.
media. What is this that you're teaching? Like what?
Yeah,
How
so
how?
there has been inevitably when you post a payment statement with commas in it, people ask you, how do you do it? And a lot of these questions come up. And I've resisted the temptation to build a how to do it on Udemy course because it's been done to death. And I don't want to be someone who kind of tags on to that. And for me, it's not enough value creation, which maybe gives you a little insight into my thought process. What is enough value creation for me is it's been really hard for myself and for Anthony, who I've linked up with over the years. It's been very hard for both of us to figure out, like, how do I teach a podcast? Should I be writing books? Should I be doing webinars? How do I connect it all together? How do I create this ecosystem? What do I need to do to get my website running optimally? And most importantly, how do I not piss people off, both my students, and how do I not get on Udemy's bad side? Because that's your bread and butter,
Right.
or Amazon's bad side, or iTunes' bad side. So there are very delicate, clever ways to make everybody happy, provide a ton of value, and link everything up so that you're bringing people into your world. And that's what this course is about. It's called Branding You, How to Build a Multimedia Internet Empire.
So, who would you say the kind of stuff you're talking about is for? Is this for the beginning Udemy instructor who doesn't have one course yet? Is this some guy who's already had some success teaching on Udemy? Who is this?
Both.
Okay.
This is for, we start the first section, if you're already creating content, you're already pretty successful on Udemy, it's going to be a review, but worth seeing. We talk about all the way from zero, crafting your personal story, overcoming the fears of becoming, an internet salesman, dealing with criticism, everything. We go into, you're going to start creating content or not creating content. Here's when you decide, and here's when you kind of get ready and how you deal with it and how you prepare yourself. Then we go into 5 different pillars, which are mailing list, blog, podcast, online courses, and books. 3 different channels of books. And so by proxy, that means that anyone who's doing any of those things, but not all of the others, if you have a book and a podcast, come check us out and we'll tell you how to connect all that and create a course and create a great mailing list and create a da. If you just have a course, which probably most of our audience today is about, you're missing out. You're leaving dollars on the table, not just because it's pretty profitable to write a book and it can be pretty profitable to do a podcast, but also because there are millions of people reading Amazon Kindle books, hundreds of millions. There are hundreds of millions of people listening to podcasts, and they don't know what Udemy is. And they certainly don't know who you are or what your website is. So these all become inbound marketing channels, which is great.
So what you're talking about basically is you're teaching someone how to connect with all different types of people in different ways, right? And more importantly, how to kind of integrate connecting with people in all these different ways into one
Yeah.
system, which achieves a specific result you want, like selling more
Bingo.
Udemy courses, right?
Well, the specific result is hyper specific, making tons of money by helping people and educating people all over the world.
Right.
Simple stuff. Whether that's on Udemy, if that's your star product, whether you want to build your own courses on your own platform, whatever it is, you're going to need. Everyone who's doing this successfully, from the Tim Ferrisses to the Lewis Howes to the James Altuchers, they all have these systems in place, and no one's explaining how they do it. So Anthony and I, after as we say in Hebrew, breaking our teeth to figure this stuff out. Or like, why doesn't somebody just build a 3-hour course that says like, do this, connect this to this, and then tell your students this? Like, again, like pressing need, right? And we talk to people. I interview people every week on my podcast, and I'm like, just now, this guy, he has like a top 5 podcast. I was talking to him. I was like, dude, why haven't you published a book? I don't really know. I don't know how it fits in with my brand. Like wine. Right. Sorry if you're listening. If you know I'm talking about. But like wine. Like you have this great podcast. You have no online courses. You have no books. Right. Why? Like, and you're doing millions of dollars in revenue. You could be doing tens of millions. Like, you can see I get frustrated by this, but that's the gist. So if people want to check that out, if you want, I can give a specific link for this course, which will have for this episode, which will have a discount code. All right. Art of Greatness, yeah? Okay. Art of Greatness is the site?
All right, it's called the Art of Greatness for, what you're linking to?
I'm going to give people a link, which is jle.vi, so just like my name, /art of greatness. And that'll give you some great coupons. Since we've been talking about 80 and 90% off coupons, it'll give you some really steep, wonderful, beautiful coupon for you to check out.
Are you going to make your dad come here and buy your course with this coupon?
You know I am.
All right. I'll definitely look forward to checking out your course. Is there anything else you might want to share with Udemy instructors about how to be more successful that we haven't covered, that you'd say, man, this is one thing I wish I knew starting out?
We've covered a ton. I think we've covered all the basics. I guess just provide value. If I had to rehash, provide value, and that's really it. Like that one tip will take you very far in life and in business.
That's great. I'll tell you what. Why don't we end the interview here, and then I'll just stop the recording here, and then we can talk for a few minutes just to wrap up. All right?
Cool. It's been a pleasure.
It's been great talking to you too, Jonathan. Thanks.